Hello everyone, myself Dr. Jyoti Gangurde, Assistant Professor of Zoology, KTHM College Nasik. Students, today we are going to discuss on the same topic inflammation. In that we continue the chapter, we continue the topic that is cellular response, then as well as acute and chronic inflammation. So, in previous lecture we already discussed regarding the vascular response. Now, here we are going to discuss regarding the cellular response or cellular events. So, here the cellular events in this such a cellular phase of inflammation, okay, which consists of two processes. The processes such as the exudation of leukocytes and the second one that is adhesion of rolling, and the third one that is immigration. Now such a process, that is very first the exudation of leukocyte, and which include the steps such as changes in the form elements of blood, then adhesion of rolling, and the third one that is immigration. And now the second type is the phagocytosis. Okay, so such a cellular phase, cellular event which consists of two phases. The first one is the exudation of leukocyte and second one which is the phagocytosis. Now first we can discuss on the first step or the first phase, that is exudation of leukocytes. Now the escape of leukocytes from the lumen of microvasculature to the interstitial tissue, which is the most important feature of inflammatory response. In acute inflammation, the polymorph nuclear neutrophils, okay, which consist of the first line of defense, body defense, okay, and which is followed later by the monocytes and macrophages. Here what? The polymorph nuclear neutrophil is the first line of body defense and followed by later the monocytes and macrophages. So the changes leading to migration of leukocytes, the changes such as here changes in the form elements of blood. Okay, now the first change is the changes in the form elements of blood. Here in the early stage of inflammation, the rate of flow of blood is increased due to vasodilation, but subsequently there is slowing or stasis of bloodstream. Now with this stasis, changes in the normal axial flow of blood in the microcirculation takes place. Here you can focus on the first diagram, that is the normal axial flow. Okay, now the normal axial flow which consists of central stream of cells, here you can see, which consists of central stream of cells which comprise by or contains by leukocytes and RBCs and peripheral cell free and the peripheral cell which is free layer of plasma which is close to the vessel wall. So here, due to slowing and stasis, the central stream of cells widens and peripheral plasma zone becomes narrower because of loss of plasma by exudation. So this phenomenon is known as the margination. Okay, so such a phenomenon, what we say is that the margination. Now as a result of this redistribution, the neutrophils of the central column come close to the vessel wall. So this is known as the pavimenting. Okay, now the margination and the pavimenting, these are the two phenomena comes under the phase, that is changes in the form elements of blood. Now here you can see margination and pavimenting. Okay, this is the normal axial flow, and the second one, that is the margination and the pavimenting. Now after that, the adhesion or rolling. So peripherally marginated and pavimented neutrophils stick briefly. Here you can see they get stick. Okay, they get stick briefly to the endothelial cell lining, the vessel wall, or roll over it. So injury leads to the neutralizing the normal negative charges on the leukocytes and endothelial cells so as to cause adhesion. The phenomenon of loose and transient adhesion between the endothelial cells and leukocytes is mediated by glycosylated proteins and selecting group of surface receptors. So here here you can see surface receptors, or they get adhere to the vessel wall. So the selection on the endothelial surface, before that, here such a phenomenon, that is the loose and transient adhesion between the endothelial cells and leukocyte, is mediated by glycosylated proteins and selecting group of surface receptors E, then selecting on the endothelial surface L, that is selecting on the leukocyte. Okay, now this is what about the adhesion of rolling. After that, the next phase is the immigration. Okay, immigration. Here, after sticking of neutrophils to the endothelium, the former move along the endothelial surface till a suitable site between the endothelial cell is found. So where the neutrophils throw out the cytoplasmic pseudopods. Okay, where the neutrophils they get thrown out through the cytoplasmic pseudopods. So subsequently, the neutrophils locked between the endothelial cells and basement membrane cross the basement membrane by damaging it locally, which secreted collagenase and escape out into the extravascular space. Okay, so you remember that such a neutrophils they escape out. Okay, so here they get escape out into the extravascular space. This is known as the immigration. Okay, this is what the immigration. So the damaged basement membrane is repaired almost immediately. As already mentioned, neutrophils are the dominant cells in the acute inflammatory exudate in the first 24 hours, and monocyte and macrophages appears in the next 24 to 48 hours. However, the neutrophils are short-lived, that is about in between 24 to 48 hours, while the monocytes and macrophages survives much longer as compared to the neutrophil. So here, simultaneously to immigration of leukocyte, escape of red cells through gaps between the endothelial cells, okay, what we say is that a diapedesis takes place. So it is a passive phenomenon where RBC is being forced out either by raised hydrostatic pressure or may escape through the endothelial defects left after immigration of leukocyte. Now, diapedesis gives hemorrhagic appearance to the inflammatory exudate. So here in this phase, what you have to remember that first, okay, the margination or pavimenting. Now after that, such a neutrophils, okay, the neutrophils they come to the periphery. Now here the neutrophils they get adhere to the wall of vessel, and after immigration they come out from the wall. Okay, so this is the immigration step. Now here the lifespan. Okay, the neutrophils which lives up to 24 hours, and after that the macrophages and different leukocytes they lives more than 24 hours or 24 to 48 hours. Now the next step is the chemotaxis. Now here the chemotaxis where the transmission of leukocytes after crossing several barriers to reach the interstitial tissue occurring in response to certain chemotactic factors. And now such a condition we says that we called it as a chemotaxis. Now the concept of chemotaxis, which is well illustrated by Boyden's experiment or Boyden's chamber experiment. Now in this chamber, you can see here also in this chamber, okay, you can see here the pore size, okay, the pore size of such a filter which is near about 3 micron, and such a millipore filters, they separate the suspension of leukocytes from the test solution in tissue culture chamber. Now here you can see these are the cells, they are separated, and here this is the filter, and here you can see the test solution, okay, which containing the chemotactic agent. Now if the test solution contains chemotactic agent, the leukocytes migrate through the pores of filter towards the chemotactic agent. Now here if, okay, such a solution which contains the chemotactic agent, now then the leukocytes, they shows migration towards the chemotactic substances or chemotactic agents. Now here you can see such a agent, such a chemotactic agents here. Now such a chemotactic agents, they acting as a potent chemotactic substances for different leukocytes, and they are called as a chemokines. Now here the different chemokines, they are present in such a chemotactic substances, and such a chemokines such as the leukotriene, B4, then platelet factor 4, then components of complement system, then leukocytes, soluble bacterial products, then monocyte chemoattractant protein, then chemotactic factor CD4 plus T cells, as well as the eotaxin chemotactic for eosinophils. Now these are the chemokines, they are present in this. Here you can see again in the diagram in this test solution, okay. So along with this chemokines, now such a chemotactic agents, they shows a presence of the different substances such as the production of arachidonic acid metabolites, then degranulation and secretion of lysosomal enzymes, generation of oxygen metabolites, increased intracellular calcium, and increased in leukocyte surface adhesion molecules. Now these are some substances, they are present along with the chemokines. Now this is all regarding the chemotaxis. Now the second step is the phagocytosis. Phagocytosis is defined as the process of engulfment of solid particulate material by the cells. Now the cells performing this function are called as a phagocytes. Now there are two main types of phagocytic cells. First type, that is polymorph nuclear neutrophil, and such a polymorph nuclear, okay, poly that is many, morph means various shape, or nuclear means nucleus, okay. Such a various shape nucleus, okay, or poly that is many again, okay. So not a single but many number of nucleus with varying shape of nucleus which is present in the neutrophil, okay. And such a polymorph nuclear neutrophils, they are present or they are found in acute inflammatory response. And now such a cells, they are called as a macrophages, okay. Now the second type of cell, that is circulating monocytes and fixed tissue mononuclear phagocyte, okay. Now here monocyte or circulating monocyte and fixed tissue mononuclear, okay, the single nucleus, that is mononuclear phagocyte, and such a cells, they are called as a macrophages. Now here the process of phagocytosis, which involves in the steps such as the attachment stage, which is also called as the opsonization stage, after that engulfment stage, then secretion stage, or it is also called as a degranulation stage, and the final, that is killing or degradation stage. Okay, now we can discuss all the steps one by one. Now here you can see in this diagram, okay, stepwise. Here the first step is the attachment stage or the opsonization stage. Why it is called as a opsonization stage? Here the two opsonin factors, they are present. Okay, so here the phagocytic cell as well as microorganism which is to be ingested have usually negatively charged surface. Okay, so here such a phagocytic cell or the organism, okay, such a organism which is present on the surface of such a cell, okay, both they shows a negatively charged. Okay, now here therefore they repel each other. So in order to establish a bond between bacteria and the cell membrane of phagocytic cell, the microorganisms get coated with opsonin. Okay, so with which are naturally occurring factors in the serum. Now such opsonins, okay, opsonins, they get cover to the body of organism, okay, meanwhile which making the cell positively charged, okay, or vice versa. Suppose the phagocytic cell which is negatively charged, then the opsonin are the factors, they are already present in the serum. Okay, now they cover all over the body of such an organism and make the organism, okay, or the surface which is positive. Okay, now here the two main opsonin, such a two main opsonins, they are present in the serum and their corresponding receptors on the surface of phagocytic cells. Okay, now here such a two opsonins you can also see in the diagram. IgG opsonin, okay, this is the first opsonin and the factor, that is Fc receptor. And now the second type, that is the second type of opsonin, that is C3b opsonin and its receptor, that is C3b receptor. Okay, now such a two type of opsonins, they are present in the serum with their receptors. Now after that the next stage is the engulfment stage. Now here the opsonized particle bound to the surface of phagocyte is ready to be engulfed. You can focus on the diagram. So here you can see, by making the positively charged, okay, such a bacterium, okay, by covering the opsonin factor, okay, here the phagocytic cell which form the pseudopods surrounding the bacterial cell or surrounding such a pathogen microorganism. Okay, now here this is accomplished by the formation of cytoplasmic pseudopods around the particle which enveloping in a phagocytic vacuole. Now the plasma membrane enclosing the phagocytic vacuole breaks from the cell surface so that the membrane lined phagocytic vacuoles lies free in the cell cytoplasm. Okay, you can observe the diagram COD, or here the lysosomes of the cell which fuse with the phagocytic vacuoles and form the phagolysosome or the phagosome. Okay, you can see in the diagram C, here such a cell which is detached from such a pseudopods, okay, and from the which enter in the cytoplasm of such a phagocytic cell. Now such a pathogenic cell or such a bacterium, such a organism, okay, which fuse with the lysosome which is already present in the phagocytic cell. Okay, now here the fusion of these two cells, okay, that is the foreign body, that is the pathogen or the bacterium, which get fuses with the lysosome of the such a phagocytic cell. Okay, now here the complex which is formed, and such a complex it is called as a phagolysosome, or it is also called as a phagosome. You can see in the D diagram, both here you can see both the bodies, they get fused, that is lysosome and the foreign body or the phagocytic vacuole or the bacterium. Okay, now which fuse to form a combined body, that is phagolysosome or phagosome. Now after that, the next step is the secretion or degranulation stage. Okay, now here we can see the next step is the secretion or degranulation stage. Here, during this process, where the granules stored products of such a polymorph nucleus are discharged or secreted into the phagosome and the extracellular environment. Okay. Now, in particular, the specific or secondary granules of polymorph nuclear are discharged while the azotrophilic granules are fused with the phagosome. Now, besides here, the discharge of preformed granules, that is mononuclear phagocyte, perform a new synthesis and secretion of certain enzymes here. Okay, so for digestion of such a foreign body. Okay, now after that, the next step is the killing or degradation stage. Okay, now killing or the degradation stage, here you can see the next comes of the stage, that is next to, okay, the secretion stage, which is followed by the next stage is the killing or degradation stage. Here in this stage, the microorganism completing the role of phagocytes as a scavenger cells. Now the microorganism, after being killed by antibacterial substances, and they are degraded by hydrolytic enzymes. Here this mechanism fails to kill and degrade some bacteria like tubercle bacilli. Okay, exception to this, okay, here what it is, this mechanism. Which mechanism? Here the microorganism, after being killed by antibacterial substances, are degraded by hydrolytic enzyme. Okay, here the formation of phagolysosome, where the lysosome which start to degrade such a bacterial cell, okay, by means of again action of hydrolytic enzyme. Now here this mechanism which fails to kill the and degrade some bacteria like tubercle bacilli. Okay, now certain bacteria they get degraded, but the tubercle bacteria which cannot degraded by such a phagocytic cells or the lysosome of such a phagocytic cell. Now here the antimicrobial agents act by either of the mechanism, such as the oxygen dependent bactericidal mechanism. Okay, so those bacteria they cannot get what here, the hydrolyzed, or they cannot degrade. Okay, now here what he says, that the antimicrobial agent which act by either of the mechanism, that is oxygen dependent bacterial mechanism, and after that oxygen independent bacterial mechanism and nitric oxide mechanism. Okay, now here in this degradation stage, okay, we can see all the stage one by one. The first stage is the oxygen dependent bacterial mechanism. In that stage here, this is a important mechanism of microbicidal killing, okay, and which is by the production of reactive agent metabolites. Here you can see the reaction product or the reactive oxygen metabolites. Here such a phase which increase the oxygen consumption, okay, by activated the phagocytic leukocyte requires the essential presence of NADPH oxidase. Okay, so here this is the phase here, that is oxygen dependent bactericidal mechanism. In this phase, okay, this is a phase of increased oxygen consumption by activated phagocytic leukocyte. For the activation of such a phagocytic leukocyte, which requires the essential important the presence of NADPH oxidase. Okay, now here the NADPH oxidase which is present in the cell membrane of phagosome. Okay, so I already told you the formation of phagosome, right? So here the phagosome, okay, which reduces the oxygen to superoxidation ions. Now here you can see in the diagram also, here the superoxidation of such a oxygen. Okay, so here you can see the O2 molecule is there. Now with the presence of NADPH, okay, which get oxidized to form again superoxidase ions, and here you can see NADPH, okay, which get converted and break down into NADP plus H plus ions. Now here superoxide is subsequently converted into H2O2, that is which has a bactericidal property. Okay, so bactericidal, so H2O2, that is hydrogen peroxide, right? So which has the bactericidal property. Now you can see in the reaction also, that is the O2 and again the presence of hydrogen ions to form what? A product, that is hydrogen peroxide, that is H2O2. Now this is what the oxygen dependent bactericidal mechanism. Okay, now the second one, that is again here you can see in the next diagram also, here this type of bactericidal activity which is carried out either via enzyme, that is myeloperoxidase, which is present in the granules of neutrophils and monocytes, or independent of enzyme, that is MPO, that is myeloperoxidase. Now here you can again see MPO, that is myeloperoxidase. Here the myeloperoxidase dependent killing, that is you can see in the A diagram, MPO dependent killing, that is hydrogen peroxide, MPO, that is halide system. Okay, so in this mechanism the enzyme MPO acts on such a hydrogen peroxide in the presence of halides, halides in the form of chloride, in the form of iodine, or in the form of bromide, okay, to form a hydrofallous acid, okay, and which is more potent antibacterial agent than hydrogen peroxide. Okay, this is the procedure is what? Under the oxygen dependent bactericidal mechanism. Okay, the first one where the requirement of what? NADPH oxidase. After that the second requirement, that is the second type, that is the presence of enzyme, that is myeloperoxidase. Okay, so which form again a strong or more potent antibacterial agent, okay, which kills the bacteria and which is more potent as compared to the H2O2 or hydrogen peroxide. You can also see in the reaction also. Now the B diagram, here again you can see such a myeloperoxidase independent killing. Okay, now here the mature macrophages lacks the enzyme MPO and they carry out bactericidal activity by producing such a OH ions or hydroxyl ions and superoxide singlet oxygen from H2O2 in the presence of oxygen, okay, or in the presence of Fe plus, that is penton, Fe plus, that is ferrous, right? So Fe plus ions. Now in that condition, if okay, the adult neutrophils, if they lack such a kind of MPO, okay, so MPO independent. In first step is what? In A, that is MPO dependent killing, and in second step, that is MPO independent, means in absence of MPO, that is in absence of myeloperoxidase enzyme. Okay, now after here again formation of a antibactericidal or which carried out a activity, that is antibactericidal activity by producing again a OH minus ions, okay, and which superoxide the single oxygen from H2O2 in the presence of again single, that is oxygen molecule, okay, or in the presence of again Fe plus Fe2 plus or Fe plus plus ions, okay. Now this is what the MPO dependent killing activity or MPO independent killing activity. Here the three step, that is NADPH, after that myeloperoxidase with the presence, and third one, that is myeloperoxidase independent, means with its absence, but they form a antibactericidal agent or they acting as an antibactericidal activity, okay. Now after that we can see the oxygen dependent bacterial mechanism, okay. The second type of degradation stage is the oxygen independent bacterial mechanism. Here some agents they released from the granules of phagocytic cells and they do not require oxygen for the bactericidal activity. So this includes the lysosomal hydrolysase, permeability increasing factors, then defensins and cationic proteins, okay. They do not require for the production of antibactericidal the antibactericidal activity, they do not require oxygen, okay. They do not require such a kind of oxygen for killing of bacteria. After that, the third type, that is nitric oxide mechanism. Here in this mechanism, in addition to the oxygen dependent and oxygen independent mechanism, here recently the role of nitric oxide in inflammatory reaction has been emphasized, okay, has been find out. Here the nitric oxide, okay, NO, that is nitric oxide, which is produced by endothelial cells as well as by activated macrophages. Here in experimental animal, nitric oxide has been shown to have fungicidal and antiparasitic action, but its role is antibactericidal activity in human, which is being not clear, okay. So in human it is not detected that it is an antibactericidal, but in case of animal it is acting as antiparasitic or acting as a anti-fungicidal, or which kills the fungi, which kills the parasite, okay. Now this is what all about the acute infection, okay, or acute response. Now after that we can see the next, that is chronic inflammation, okay. Now here the chronic inflammation, it is defined as a prolonged progress in which tissue destruction and inflammation occur at the same time, okay. So chronic means prolonged. So again the chronic inflammation, which is defined as a prolonged process in which tissue destruction and inflammation occur at the same time, okay. Now the chronic inflammation, which can be caused by the three ways, that is chronic inflammation following the acute inflammation, then recurrent attacks of acute inflammation, and followed by the third, that is chronic inflammation starting, okay. Now in case of the first, that is chronic inflammation following acute inflammation, in that when the tissue destruction is extensive or the tissue destruction which is more, okay, or the bacteria which survive and persist in small numbers at the site of acute inflammation, okay. Now here the example, that is osteomyelitis, then pneumonia, such a pneumonia which terminating in lung abscess, okay. If the infection is acute, but Now, okay, if it is acute, but at the site of acute inflammation, if there is a secondary infection of bacteria, okay, now which is hazardous and which get prolonged. Suppose here example that is the osteomyelitis, then pneumonia which terminating in lung abscess. Okay. Now after that the second type, that is recurrent attacks of acute inflammation. Here when such a kind of inflammation which is repeated by means of the acute inflammation, okay, here the culminate in chronicity, or what we indicate that it is turn into the chronic inflammation. Examples such as the recurrent urinary tract infection which leading to chronic pyelonephritis, then repeated acute infection of gallbladder leading to chronic cholecystitis. Okay. Now after that the third one, that is chronic inflammation. Starting here again it is de novo. De novo means not known, when origin which is not known, or de novo. So here when the infection with organism of low pathogenicity is chronic from the beginning, such as example infection with the Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Okay. Now this is what regarding the chronic inflammation, its definition and causes. Now we have the different types of chronic inflammation. So the types of chronic inflammation which includes non-specific and specific response. Okay. Here the non-specific response or the non-specific type, when the irritant substance produces a non-specific chronic inflammatory reaction with the formation of granulation tissue and healing by fibrosis. Okay. This is suppose example, that is chronic osteomyelitis or chronic ulcer. Okay. Now non-specific inflammation, non-specific chronic inflammation is when the irritant substance which produce a non-specific chronic inflammatory reaction. Now with this reaction the formation of granulation of tissue and healing by means of the process of fibrosis. Okay. Such a processes we already discussed in previous lectures. Okay. Now here our previous sections. Okay. Now the examples such as chronic osteomyelitis or chronic ulcer. Now the specific response here which include when the injurious agent causes a characteristic histological tissue response. Examples such as tuberculosis, leprosy, syphilis and many more examples we have. Okay. Now this is what regarding the types of chronic inflammation, and this is what regarding this the chapter, that is inflammation, okay, its causes, then again its types, okay, acute as well as chronic. Okay. So here these are the types, that is acute and chronic. Okay. And in next lecture again we discuss with new topic.